The morning started like any other. Sunlight spilling through the trees, kids laughing as they waited at the corner bus stop, and the low hum of engines warming up. But that peace shattered in an instant, when a white SUV screeched to a halt across the road, blocking the yellow school bus dead in its tracks. Out stepped Karen, the neighborhood's self-proclaimed rule enforcer, sunglasses on, clipboard in hand, and that same smug look she wore every time she caught someone breaking the HOA rules. Only this time, she wasn't just scolding a neighbor for a misplaced trash. She was confronting children. "Stop that bus! These kids can't stand here!" she shouted, slamming her palm against the bus's hood. The driver froze, confused and startled. The children's laughter turned into silence. I was a few houses away, watching everything unfold as I prepared to leave for work. But when I saw her screaming at the bus driver and demanding that the kids step off HOA property, I couldn't believe it. My own daughter was standing right there, scared, clutching her backpack. I started walking toward the scene, my badge tucked under my jacket, my mind racing. I'd heard rumors that Karen had been harassing other families, but I never imagined she'd go this far. "Ma'am, what are you doing?" the driver asked. "I'm enforcing community safety," Karen barked back. "These kids can't wait here. This area belongs to the HOA. The driver shook his head. "This is a designated school bus stop. It's approved by the district." "Well, I don't approve," she snapped. "Move this bus immediately, or I'll call the police." That's when I stepped in, my voice calm but firm. "No need to call anyone, Karen. I am the authority here." She turned, annoyed. "Oh, really? And who exactly do you think you are?" I smiled faintly. "The school superintendent." Her face froze. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. But the story didn't end there, because Karen wasn't about to back down. What happened next would shock the entire neighborhood and lead to a public scandal no one saw coming. Karen blinked rapidly, her sunglasses slipping down her nose as she tried to process what I'd just said. "You're the superintendent?" she stammered, her tone wobbling between disbelief and defiance. "Yes," I said evenly, stepping closer. "And this bus stop, these children, are under my supervision. You're interfering with school transportation, Karen." But instead of backing down, she crossed her arms, her voice growing sharper. "I don't care who you are. The HOA rules clearly state that vehicles can't stop here longer than 5 minutes. And those kids shouldn't be waiting on private property." The bus driver leaned out the window, frowning. "Ma'am, this route was approved years ago. You can't just change it because you don't like it." Karen's lips twisted. "We'll see about that. Maybe your approval means nothing in my neighborhood." I took a slow breath. This wasn't just about a bus stop anymore. This was about control. Karen wasn't protecting the neighborhood. She was trying to own it. "Karen," I said carefully, "you're creating a safety hazard. Blocking a school bus, arguing with a driver, scaring children. This could be considered obstruction. You need to step aside." But she didn't move. In fact, she pulled out her phone. "You think you can threaten me? I'll call the HOA board right now. You'll see that I have every right to." That's when my phone buzzed. It was Officer Mitchell, our district's school resource officer, who'd just been alerted by the bus's GPS system that something was wrong. "Superintendent? We got a report about a blocked school bus on Maple Drive," he said. "Yes," I replied, keeping my eyes locked on Karen. "Send a unit. We've got an HOA member interfering with school operations." Karen's eyes widened. "You're calling the police on me?" "I'm just enforcing the rules." "Enforcing?" I said quietly. "You're endangering children." As the sirens began echoing in the distance, the neighborhood came alive, doors opening, phones recording, whispers spreading. Karen stood frozen, realizing the situation was slipping beyond her control. When the patrol car turned the corner, her defiance began to crack. She tried to wave them off, saying, "This is just a misunderstanding." But the officer stepped out and went straight to me. "Superintendent, everything all right here?" "Yes," I said. "But this woman has been obstructing a school bus and harassing the driver." Karen's mouth fell open as the officer turned to her. "Ma'am, I need you to step aside and explain why you're blocking a school vehicle." And just like that, her authority meant nothing. The flashing red and blue lights reflected off Karen's SUV, painting her face with panic she could no longer hide. The officer's calm but firm tone cut through the air. "Ma'am, we need you to step away from the vehicle," he said. Karen forced a shaky laugh, trying to salvage her confidence. "Officer, this is just a simple HOA misunderstanding. These people don't understand how our community works." But the neighborhood was already watching. Parents peered from porches, and someone across the street began recording. The once powerful HOA Karen now stood cornered, surrounded by witnesses and law enforcement. "I wasn't blocking the bus," she insisted. "I was protecting the neighborhood. We can't have kids crowding the sidewalks or making noise in the morning." The bus driver, visibly shaken, stepped down and shook his head. "Lady, All we did was stop to pick up school children. You hit my hood with your hand and told me to move. That's not protecting anyone. Karen spun toward me, her face red. You're just trying to make me look bad because you think your title makes you special. I stayed calm. Karen, this isn't about me. This is about the children you frightened and the rules you broke. The officer exchanged a look with me. Sir, do you want to press charges? I hesitated. Let's just file an incident report for now. But then something unexpected happened. Another neighbor, Mrs. Lopez, walked up holding a file folder. Superintendent, she said quietly, you might want to see this. The HOA's been covering for Karen for months. We've complained about her harassing kids before, but they kept dismissing it. Karen's eyes widened. You what? Mrs. Lopez handed me the papers. Inside were emails, angry complaints, photos, even one letter from a parent whose child had been too scared to walk to the bus stop. After one of Karen's confrontations. This isn't the first time? I asked softly. No, Mrs. Lopez said, but she's the HOA vice president. Every complaint disappears. The officer glanced at Karen. Ma'am, you failed to mention prior incidents. That changes things. Karen's fake confidence collapsed. You don't understand, she shouted. I own this neighborhood. You can't do this to me. But no one believed her anymore. The officer radioed for backup while Karen screamed about corruption and ungrateful neighbors. It was no longer a simple misunderstanding. It was exposure, her reign of intimidation, unraveling in front of everyone she'd tried to control. And as the camera phones kept recording, I knew this would end up everywhere. By the next morning, the entire neighborhood knew what had happened. The video of Karen screaming at the bus stop had gone viral on social media. Parents were outraged. Local news stations were calling the district for statements. And the HOA board, once loyal to Karen, was scrambling to control the damage. I arrived at the school district office early that day, already preparing a report for the legal department. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages from parents, teachers, and even the mayor poured in. Everyone wanted to know how a woman like Karen had gotten away with so much for so long. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. It was Officer Mitchell again. Superintendent, he said. We completed our investigation. Turns out, Karen's been issuing unauthorized fines to residents for months. She's been using HOA funds for personal expenses, too. I exhaled slowly. So it wasn't just harassment. It was fraud. He nodded. We've got statements from several families and board members ready to testify. Later that afternoon, the HOA held an emergency meeting. For once, the community center was packed. Parents, neighbors, even a few teachers. All of them there to see what would happen. Karen walked in with that same stiff posture, though the confidence was gone. Her hands shook as she carried her binder of HOA rules. But before she could speak, I stood. Mrs. Whitman, I began, using her full name. Your actions on Maple Drive were not only dangerous, but illegal. You obstructed school transportation, harassed students, and abused your position for personal power. She tried to interrupt, but the murmurs in the crowd drowned her out. The district has filed an official report with the county, I continued. As of today, you are removed from the HOA board, and pending investigation, you may face criminal charges. Her face drained of color. You can't do this to me! I built this neighborhood! No, I said quietly. The people did. You just made them afraid to live here. The room fell silent. For once, Karen had no words, just the sound of papers trembling in her hands as security escorted her out. Weeks later, the HOA restructured under new leadership. The bus stop was moved slightly for safety, and parents began volunteering to supervise each morning. One morning, as I watched my daughter board the bus, she turned back and smiled. No Karen today. I smiled too. No, sweetheart, not anymore. In the end, it wasn't my title that stopped her. It was the community finally standing together. If you enjoyed watching Karen finally face justice, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life HOA revenge stories, because the next one might be even wilder.